so excited to have a guest on with us today.
Our first
you
guest.
probably don't know this. You are our first guest.
Oh my gosh, so exciting.
Isn't that fun?
I feel honored.
I know. We've just been like talking trash amongst ourselves.
We might talk trash today, so that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. So this is really exciting.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
So that I don't butcher your last name, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Ashley Laccarino.
Thank you for that.
Long last name, everyone gets it wrong, so
Okay.
no worries.
So today's title of the podcast is 21 Minutes with the Airport That Broke the Brand Rule Book. And for those of you who don't know who that is, it's obviously our very own Tampa TPA, not TIA airport. Ashley, I know that you have since moved on from there and you're with Press PR and Marketing now, but you had quite the tenure and were responsible for like this very pivotal shift.
Definitely.
I would even say in brand marketing, not just airport marketing. And so we're really pumped to ask some questions around how you transitioned that social account and the strategy into what they're sort of currently doing today, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So to kick things off, I just have like a really fun little icebreaker question for you. I'm a little scared to ask it, but we're just going to see how this goes.
Exciting.
I know. What is the weirdest DM the FlyTPA account ever received?
Oh man, lots of weird ones. I think just off the top of my head, people always thought, if I'm DMing the airport, they know everything. They're in control of TSA. They're in control of the airlines.
The airport
everything.
overlord.
Yes. And so
they're
people
like,
would,
you're the person with
exactly.
Yeah.
Like I do it all, wear many hats. So they would ask questions about what they can bring on the plane.
Oh.
And honestly, it was helpful to me because I'm like, okay, I can bring this.
Yeah.
And so one person was really into apparently rotisserie chicken from Publix.
Honestly, same.
I mean, same.
Yeah.
And was asking, she wrote this whole thing like, my boyfriend really, really loves this Publix rotisserie chicken. Can I bring it on the plane? And I'm like, I don't know that I would feel comfortable sitting next to you, but so I looked into it, and TSA actually has a really cool website that you can type in.
Oh.
Instead of DMing the airports, you can just type it in.
Okay.
And so I, let them know what, and it was yes, if you can, check it.
Okay. The answer is yes.
The answer is
so yes.
Rotisserie chicken is
Bring your rotisserie chicken.
That's hysterical. I mean, as a Floridian, Publix does have a cult following.
I have traveled with a pub sub or two in the past.
I mean,
but never
no shame.
rotisserie chicken. That's
No.
a whole new
No.
level of
It's
commitment.
just a little large to,
It's a lot.
It's
Yeah.
like, does it fit in your
Do you
carry-on?
you just walk around
That's
with like
what
the
I
little
would.
handle?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
That's amazing. Okay, so we really want to get into like the origin story of how you were able, especially as coming through as an intern is how you started, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the progression of like, one, you're an intern and you have some ideas and you want to shake things up or the evolution of the account. So can you talk to us a little bit about kind of the voice or the strategy before the shift?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I came in, I, thought it was a communications internship. So I didn't know that I would be doing the social. At that time, it was like,
Classic
if somebody's
vague internship
no,
type.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, classic. We got them. Now we're just gonna make
Right.
them do whatever.
And
Yeah.
so it was like, okay, I can do it. I grew up around social media kind of becoming big. Not going to age myself. But so that was kind of coming into the spotlight, and every company had to do its own social. So it was like, okay, we'll jump into this. But the strategy at the time was post as much as you can, post as many updates as you can. And that's what would, get engagement up.
The Gary V playbook.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was like, but
And
it
this was
wasn't just
back-
every
what year?
day.
This was
2017.
2017.
The
Okay.
Gary V playbook.
So right, but Gary Vee was like, post every day, get your content up.
Get
This
7
was like
posts out.
post three times a day, and I'm
Yeah.
like, guys, we're gonna lose followers. Like nobody, and so we kind of tried to just backtrack it a bit, really based on like anecdotal data. So it was like, if I see somebody posting 3 times a day, I am unfollowing them.
Right.
So it kind of just fell into place where we were like, okay, we'll post 1 to 2 times a day. And I would get there, I don't know, 8:15, 8:30, and I would do my first post every day. And at first it was kind of stressful because it was like, what are we going to post? Like I would try to find a cool plane
Just like
photo.
off the cuff, 8:30 you show up and you're like, well, what are we going to post today?
And like, that's so not, I would not advise that for anyone, but it really allowed me to like put my personality into it.
Yeah.
And it was like, you could tell, you know, what the post was going to be based on like the mood in the office. And so that was just really fun. And so that ended up kind of transforming into, you know, what it became, which was more fun. And I think that that was really based off of audience feedback.
Yeah.
And, you know, by the time I was leaving the airport, it was like, I felt like I had, you know, 200,000 best friends that were just following the account because I understood them and I understood what they were going to engage with, what they were going to appreciate, who was going to complain about, you know, X, Y, Z. So.
Well, I love the story that you were telling me just before we started filming here too, and how the VP had this idea and you took that and sort of ran with it. Can you just briefly introduce that? Because I think that there's a thread here of like the continuation and talking to people.
Yeah. So she wanted it to be basically like that Humans of New York page. Mm-hmm. And, you know,
which I
great,
do love.
Cool idea. If somebody stops you on the street in New York, like maybe you'll talk to them. But in the airport, it's like you're traveling, you gotta go. You gotta go look at your gate to make sure it's there. Like, you know, like you're not
10 out of 10 times I'm late too.
No,
so, like,
that's it. It's hard. And so nobody really like that's the last place somebody wants to talk about themselves, you know, at the airport. And so I was trying to, you know, do that because that's what they wanted. But I was getting rejected so many times by these passengers that were just not interested. And so it was like, okay, we have to really make our own organic content and make that work. And so it was just really trial and error at that point.
Yeah.
There wasn't much of a strategy on my end.
What were you asking people? Like mic in hand, what were like the questions?
I mean, I would start with like, hey, like I run the social media for the Tampa International Airport. Would you mind if I ask you a few questions? And they're like, nah, no. So I honestly like didn't really get to the point where I was asking questions. Once in a while you'd have like the person holding the sign waiting for their guest, and like those were like the heartfelt stories. But other than that, it's like
after 6 rejections, you're like, all right, I think maybe I'm done with this for the day.
Back to the office. So
what can you remember, like the first post or like first moment that you remember being like, ooh, I don't know about this. Like, this might be a little bit too far.
Okay, this one, it's like honestly embarrassing, but it was World Emoji Day.
Okay.
And I grew up with, you know, my dad and my brother very, very close. Let me preface with that.
Okay.
And it was World Emoji Day, and people were doing all these different emoji posts. So there was a plane taking off, and I put like the little smoke emoji like behind the like plane, like a plane fart.
Right.
And it's like, okay, fart humor, like how old are you? I know.
Right.
So so I posted that, and it said, you know, like it was like, pardon me if I was rude, it was not me, it was my fuel. Like I think it's like Austin Powers. Like, and so like I remember my boss at the time being like, huh? What did you just do? And then a news station covered it and was like, you know, different. It was like a national station publication, and they were like, you know, different people did different things for World Emoji Day. Even an airport in Tampa, you know, Tampa that posted this. Oh. And I was like, yeah, media coverage. And everyone else was like, what? But it was kind of the first intro into like, hey, we can have fun and we're getting recognized for it. So
you could toe the line.
Exactly.
And maybe get in trouble.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. So this raises a really interesting question that I had listed kind of down here, but so what I hear you saying is you had this idea, you show up at your computer or your phone, probably, you type it out, you hit post, you haven't told anyone, and then it goes live and gets coverage without your boss ever having a meeting, reviewing the post. Like, this is the Tampa airport. There's a handful of followers.
Yeah. So, I mean, my boss at the time, so when I started, it was like I had to run every single post by him.
Yes.
And then once I kind of got into the groove of it, it was, you know, I was able to have autonomy and create those posts. And I mean, thankfully, because I think if I had to run everything by leadership, a lot of it, you know, may not have been understood or approved. So I think that them giving me that autonomy and at the time, cancel culture wasn't a thing. Like, people
True.
maybe weren't as offended by things as easily. And so it was not as big of an issue if you had to post something and delete it. Whereas now it's like, this is tattooed on you for the rest of your life.
More lighthearted. People took social media like for what it was, not, you know, the heaviness now that can be conveyed. I will say that there is a learning, I feel like, for other brands and even clients too, right? It's like, if things are working, trust your people.
Yep.
It's like you had a pulse on what was going down, you know, in the comments, in real time, in front of people, the department, obviously. So at this point, were you still just like off the cuffing it, or were you having like strategy meetings, or like what was that process like for you? Or were you just kind of like, we're just going to keep doing this?
So it was a little bit of both. I mean, as far as engagement, I was always looking at the numbers, and, you know, you'd post something and get like 20 likes. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll never post that again. And then I would post something funny and it would be like, you know, 1,000 likes or whatever it was at the time. And so I really injected so much of my personality into it, which I felt so lucky to be able to do, because it was like an outlet where I was having fun and people were loving it too. And it was working for the airport. And so it still was off the cuff, to your point. And I think that, you know, there were days that there'd be an award show before, like the Oscars or something. And I would go off of, okay, that was a funny joke. How can I relate that to an airport? And that was so many things. I mean, everything I would see in my life or on social, it's like, oh, this is trending. How can I relate it to an airport? And that's really how it became like, okay, they have their finger on the pulse. They're making funny jokes. And I mean, there were no other accounts really. The airports absolutely were not doing like funny, because they're government agents, like they're government entities. And so it's like, if your board member calls, that's an issue. So
at any point in time, were your peers or like your leadership, was anybody like trying to get involved in like ideas and like throwing stuff that maybe either like fell flat, or like,
you're like, that's
I'm just imagining like a VP throwing an idea out and then being disappointed that you didn't post it.
I will say I was so lucky with the leaders that I had, that they truly, truly trusted me to be able to decipher between what was appropriate and not. I think as far as the ideas came, it was from different departments. Like, I have a new XYZ. And I was like, we're not posting that on social media. There's a newsletter or maybe emails, but no. And so just kind of gatekeeping, because, you know, there were 600 employees at the Hillsborough County Aviation Authority. And so it was like, everyone, you know, they think that, you know, even in agency life, it's like, what I'm doing is more important than anything. And it's like just bringing people back down to earth to say, like, this is what we post and this is kind of what we don't. So you mentioned something which just like brings so much joy for me to understand. In your brain, you were like, okay, there's an award show and I'm going to make this about an airport. Not a lot of people can make that jump, Ashley. I feel like that's a real talent, to be able to witness culture and bring it into what otherwise would be like such a dry industry. That's it.
So I feel like, you know, we're in this era now of brands and legacy brands. We just talked about this the other week. You know, what was the legacy brand that you were like, okay? I know we talked about Pine Sol. Okay, so back in the 70s, and they're literally, I mean, it's, you know, mom and she's cleaning the floors, and now they are so unhinged. It's insane.
Yeah, and like Gen Z kids are now going to go to Walmart and Target when they go to college and be like, Mom, we got to get Pine Sol. Which is like just a wild concept.
Random.
So what is your opinion, or like, how do you take that learning then of developing this, you know, strategy and brand voice into today, where you told me earlier, you were like, the only person that really was doing this back then was Wendy's. And they were, I remember, like, specifically, in fact, I was working for Burger King back then. So that I was always like, what are you doing over here? And their clapbacks were always on fire. Right? So how do you feel about the transition now, like how do you maintain a brand voice and still cut through the noise and like carry that irreverence without being like weird or gross or you know, cringy, as the kids say?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an understanding of, first of all, not upsetting or offending anyone. That's like kind of the first thing that the first layer that you have to run it through. And then also just like understanding that with AI and chat and everything that's like, you can create a caption with the click of a button, it's remaining authentic to that brand. And so, there's different ways to do it, whether you look at audience personas and creating what your audience might look like and then tailoring your content to that person. So that was one thing. And I think that a lot of brands can get by doing that because it's like, okay, who are you? A lot of brands are like, they'll look at, okay, who are we reaching? And then create content towards that. That's not the strategy that should be used. It should be, who do you want to reach? And then creating content towards that person. And they're going to learn that, okay, our followers are starting to look more like the audience that we want.
Yes.
And so
our clients are listening.
Yeah.
It's true. And it's hard in the agency world because a lot of clients are like, no, we don't talk like that. We don't do that. And it's like, okay, but it's 2025 and you've got to have a little bit of fun and be authentic, be human, and show like more and more people want to know that there's a human on the other side of the computer or the phone and not a robot,
Exactly. Because there are a lot of robots on the other side of the phone.
And so many people are like used to being safe and like passive and are scared by like being active, like Wendy's, and I think Slim Jim was like kind of right behind them. And like being active and like creating conversations around your brand based off of comments.
Right.
Like people were terrified of what that might portray them as. And now it's like, to your point earlier, now TSAs, like threads and Twitter accounts are like iconic and they're like, please don't bring this.
Right.
And they've like rolled that whole like active perspective like into a social media presence that like I'm following TSA not because I don't know what to bring on the plane, but just because it cracks me up.
It's hilarious.
Well, I think that even, it shows that, and our strategy back then was like, if we can get all these people to, you're scrolling through your phone, if you see the TPA logo, you're going to stop because you know that it's going to be, a post is going to give you something. It's going to be educational, helpful or funny, And so if we can get people to stop at that and look at our content, then when we have something important to share, they'll read that too. And so that was kind of the train that kept us going. And that's what we told leadership because it was true. If we're telling writing a meme and it's funny and people are engaging with it, when we're talking about getting there, 2-3 hours early to the airport, people are seeing that as well. So it was like kind of bridging that gap as well.
Love that. Bringing them along, like bringing leadership along through the entertainment to get to the education.
Totally.
So I want to transition because 21 minutes goes quickly.
Definitely.
How long ago did you leave the airport?
I left just a little over 3 years ago.
Okay. And how long were you there managing it?
5 years.
5 years. Okay. That's a lot of you in the brand.
Definitely.
So talk to us a little bit about how you were able to like even try and encapsulate and hand off the account. Like what were your fears? How did you even begin to try and like train someone on how to recognize, Oscars, awards, culture into airport, meme speak?
Well, it was hard and it was sad because that was my baby for so long. And like I said, like these were my friends, like people, and so like whether they knew it or not, they were my friends. And so when I was leaving, I had told them, they asked me to stay a month so that they can try and, figure, and I was like totally fine, like respected them, loved them. And so they were trying to hire for the social position before I left. And they brought me into the interviews. And so we interviewed a few people. And then I was like, I have a friend that, I had been friends with for a long time. And he had a master's in social media from UF. And so
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. I know. It was like the first like social media master's program. But so
we need to talk to that professor.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah, no, seriously.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to him and was like, would you be interested, in this position? And he was doing he was an influencer at the time. And so long story short, he put his application in, they reviewed it. He came in for interviews and, we had talked before, he had some ideas and came with those ideas. And I think that it was, probably a bit of a process for him to try and emulate that voice, but I think he's definitely done a good job of maintaining it. So yeah, I think they're in good hands, and he's definitely kept that fun voice going on.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been a really tough thing to give up.
It was.
Yeah, walking, not necessarily walking away, but moving on from something you kind of just really built the TOV of is difficult. And I can imagine that when it's your brain, creating a brand guide for that, it's not, you can't explain how this works all the time.
It was well, I thought of this and it
then
was funny to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So, but he's done a good job. So
awesome. Okay, last question, because we are gonna hit the what do you call it?
We're basically in overtime. Yeah,
literally overtime. What is a piece of advice to other marketers potentially listening, brand or agency, who are still writing their captions like press releases?
Ooh.
I would say take a chance, have a little bit of fun, make a joke, see if it lands. If you're not sure, ask people around you, ask your friends, ask your bosses. Just have fun with it. I mean, honestly, there's so much noise on the internet right now. I look at it if I can give somebody some entertainment for a minute in their lives, that's what I'd want to do. So for a brand to kind of do that as well, and just to be authentic, be genuine, and have fun, I mean, that's what it's all about. So.
Love it. This is super fun.
Yeah, asking somebody who might not be in marketing or might not, be writing captions, their feedback on a caption, I think is such an underutilized tool.
Completely.
Because that's who it's supposed to land for.
Exactly.
And if it doesn't land for them or a couple of them, then maybe go back to the drawing board.
Oh yeah. Or figuring out who's my audience and do they get it, So
Well, airport jokes will forever follow you around. We are thankful and we apologize for that. So thank you for sharing 21 minutes of your time with us
of
today.
course, thank you.
We're going to have Andy on later today from Liquid Death too. So
very exciting.
Super jazzed about that. All right. Thanks,
cool.
guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.